Hey, third grade, ready for your art lesson this week? We've been looking at frogs. So, you guys have been studying various frogs in your classes. You've been looking at all different types. And in art, we've looked in particular at the African bullfrog, the coqui frog, the glass frog, the lemur leaf, the poison dart, the red-eyed tree frog, the smoky jungle, and the water-holding frog. I've crossed out some of those frogs because we specifically looked at them and talked about how to draw them. So, with that being said, we are going to pause and we're going to talk about the cards that you're going to be making from these guys. You are going to be using a white piece of paper. You're going to cut out squares that are 4 inches by 4 inches. And I'll talk to you about that. I'll show you that in a moment. You'll need to cut out 3 cards. And on the front of the card is going to be the picture of the frog with its name. And in the back of the card, it's going to have the name of the frog, the size of the frog, the color, the camouflage, the poison, or 1 or 2 interesting facts about the frogs, and your name. I don't know, or your name. You've got to put your name on there. So, why are we doing this? Because this actually will make a card game. The size, the color, the camouflage, and the poison are going to be the frog's stats. Don't worry about this too much right now. I will actually give you the stats to the frogs next time. This week we're going to get the cards ready and you're going to get to practice drawing 1 more set of frogs. But I want you to look at some of these frog cards examples. I've got some up there at the top, and let me move myself off the screen so you can see that last one. These are just the front of these cards. You can see that these cards have the frogs. You can tell which frog, or you should be able to tell which frog it is. Let's look at some examples that I did. This is a novice version of the card. This would be the red-eyed tree frog, but it's a novice example. It's scribbled coloring. There's no details on the frog. It's all the same color. There's way too much white space in the picture. And there's almost nothing written on the back of the card. It just says frog, size, color. So this is like the lowest level that I would want to... Actually, I don't even want that. I want you to do much better than that. So let's look at an apprentice level. An apprentice level card still has some scribbly coloring, but at least there's some differences. It's a little bit neater. There's a few details on the frog, like we changed the color of the hands, but there's still too many white spaces. And all 4 of the categories are written on the back of the card, but really nothing else. So this is still not the best. This is someone, an expert, who has been listening and paying attention to what should be going on in the class, on their picture, and has taken their time with it. This is an expert. The coloring is neater. There are some details on the frog. There's not so many white spaces. There's still some, but there's not as much. All of the categories are there, and 1 fact has been written about the frog. Plus, the name of the frog and the student is on the back of the card. Then, the mentor level. This is the one that is, this is a student who could teach other people. I know it is because it's actually mine. So this has neat coloring. It's not out of the lines. It covers everything. There's lots of details on the frog and the background. There's almost no white spaces. I have to say almost because they're still around the name of the frog. Then all of the categories are on the back of the card, and there's 2 interesting facts about the frog, and the name of the frog. So you want your card to look more like an expert or a mentor level. When you don't want to have an apprentice, we really don't want to have any novice levels. So when you work on them in the future, you're going to want to pick frogs that you know you can work on. But that's in the future. This week, we're going to be looking at the red-eyed tree frogs and the poison dart frogs. So let's talk about how to make our actual cards. So this is a normal print paper. This is just printing paper. It's nothing special. I'll move my camera a little bit out. There we go. So this is nothing particularly, there's nothing special about this. We're just going to be using printing paper. And I've got a ruler here. Now I've got this really hardcore ruler, but you just need a ruler. And I'm going to look on my ruler, oh dear, until I can find, so there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to make sure that my square is going to be 4 inches. So I'm going to put the 4 next to the corner of my paper. I can't zoom in, I'm sorry, I wish that I could. And then I'm going to make a mark with my pencil down here at the bottom, because this is the 1, so here's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. So that's great. That's going to be the first one. And I don't need all of those on there. Now, starting at this corner, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this line match the 4. And this time I'm going to draw a line up to the top. So that goes right there to the top. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and it already goes to the 4. And voila, I have a square that is 4 inches by 4 inches. So then all I have to do is cut my first card out, and I've got 1 card. And you know what I can do next? I can put it on this piece of paper, and I can trace my other cards. So I'm not even going to have to measure it anymore, since I already have that 1. And you gotta make sure you have straight lines. See this right here? I messed up and I drew on it. All I gotta do, erase it. Easy. And then I'm going to do 1 more card. I'm going to make sure that this line matches the other one. And I want to do and if you look, I could actually get 1 more out of this, but you only need to have 3. So next is and now I have my 3 cards that are ready. Ta-da! What are we writing on these cards? On the back, on one side, you're writing your name. Your name, not the word name, your name. And then you're going to be writing these words. Whoops. Size, color, camo, and this is a long word, so if you don't know how to spell it, it's okay. It's going to be on the Nearpod. And those are what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do that on each one of these. Ta-da! And my 3 cards are ready for next week, or ready for what I asked you to do this time. Then we're going to start looking at our frogs. So we're going to look at the red-eyed tree frog and the poison dart frog. And much like last week, you guys are going to pick one of these two frogs and you're going to practice drawing it. So let's look. I'm going to show the red-eyed tree frog to you guys. Or I'm going to draw the red-eyed tree frog for you guys. I'm going to draw it because I think he's different enough that we should take a look at a different kind of frog. So like I usually do with frogs, I'm going to start with the eyes. Because they make a good spot to start with. But then behind his eyes, on the other side, he's got like a half circle. I'm going to do the that's going to be kind of his nose, and his head comes up behind him. So that little oval is going to be his head. I'm not done. Now let's look. He's got a long skinny oval for his body. We're going to do long skinny ovals for his legs. And he's got some really long skinny legs down here, so I'm going to do really long ovals and really long oval. And this one overlaps and has even one more coming down here. And this guy's a little bit more open. And then we've got his feet. So I know his feet are going to be, I'm just making big circles for it right now, and then right there. So that's just me starting off with the regular square, or for my regular shapes. So I'm going to go through this kind of fast because I don't want this whole video to be 30 minutes long. So now that I've got these shapes done, I'm going to start adding in my details. So watch, see if you can catch up, see if you can catch on to what I'm going to be doing. So I know his face is not really an oval, but his chin comes down here, right about here. So I'm going to make that a little bit darker, and I'm going to get rid of Alright, so right now I've got most of him done, but I still got to work on his fingers. His fingers are going to be a little hard, so I'm going to take a look at them, and they come down to the end, a little bit past my circle. Alright, next I'm going to add some details around the eye. Alright, so right now I'm done with the drawing. Next, it's time to work on some of the coloring. I know that I'm going to need, well, I need a green, but that might be too dark. I'm still going to hold it out. I need a blue. I'm going to need a yellow. I'm going to definitely need a red. Is that red? Yeah, that's red. Whoops, go back there. And I'm going to need an orange. Where did my orange? There's my orange. So I know I need those. Am I missing anything else? No, I don't think so. So next I'm going to look where, oh, you know what? I should really work with, I think that green might be a little bit better. I'll still hold on to that so it can be my shadow stuff, but let's get these ready. Alright, so our red-eyed tree frog is very interesting. I would start with the things that we know are going to be just straight up one color. So we know that the toes are going to be Alright, is there anything else on him that's orange that needs to be colored? Nope, don't see anything. So let's do another easy one. That'll be red. He's got a little bit of red over here on this side. Okay, and that's all for the red. Now, some of you might be able to see or might have noticed that he's got a little bit of blue around his eyes, but he's got some other spots that have blue on him. He's got a little bit on his arm. He's got some on his leg, but it's interesting because it's not the whole, he's got this like stripe of green down the middle of his leg, and his tailbone is green, so I'm not gonna color the whole thing blue. He's got a little bit of blue on that side. It's got the same thing on this side with the streak of green, or the stripe of green. But then he's got this strange pattern here in the middle. It's not all blue. It's yellow and bits of blue. So it kind of comes up like here. And it goes back down. And he has like little patterns of blue on him. Kind of looks like they're going with his ribs. I don't know if they really are. So, and he's got a little bit more. So I'm going to color the insides of those blue. Now, I'm done with the blue. I'm going to come back, I'm going to grab this yellow, and I want to go over the But that's not the only thing that's yellow. He's got some other spots that look like they've got a little bit of yellow. He's got a little bit around his mouth. He's got a little bit around his eyes too. I would say there's a little bit of yellow. And he's kind of got some yellow near his fingers in some spots I see. Now I got it, and I'm going to continue doing the rest of him in a light green, because he's not a dark green, he's a very light green. The only place I'm not going to color green is if you look very carefully, or if you can go back and look at the picture. He doesn't really have green underneath his chin to this little bit right around there, and it kind of blends in. So I'm not going to color over my yellow down here. Alright, and there we go. We've got a red-eyed tree frog that is done. So what you guys are going to work on this week is you're either practice drawing the red-eyed tree frog or the poison dart frog. You also need to make sure you have your 3 blank cards cut out. So make sure you've got your 3 cards done and write those words on the back. And practice the red-eyed tree frog or the poison dart frog. Alright guys.